thought I would bring in just a little conversation around possible low appraisals, whether this is a purchase that you're going through or a refinance. You'll see it a lot more on a refinance because you're not having two real estate experts that are letting you know what the value of the property is. And what I would say for any of my listeners that are refinancing, just make sure that you're doing your due diligence to put everything together regarding your home. If you have comparables that you know have sold in your immediate area, just having those ready for the appraiser can help out. Now, low appraisers can happen. They can happen subtly when you're in the middle of a purchase transaction, and the bank is only going to fund your loan based on the appraised value. So you have three choices here, options that you can do. You can walk away from the sale. That is always your option as long as you haven't waived your appraisal contingency, which you want to make sure that you're discussing that with your agent on, making sure that you have that contingency in there unless you choose to waive it. You can just come up with a difference if you want to. So if your appraised value came in $20,000 low and you want to come in with the additional $20,000, you can do that. Now, in some situations, depending on your down payment, if you're coming in with a 20% down, you'll still be able to purchase that home and do a lower down payment and not have to come in with any additional funds. There's some really creative financing around there. As your local mortgage expert here and your host of the Money Hour, you can feel free to call the show and I can walk you through that, what that would look like for you. Or you can do a combination, or the seller can pay the difference. Or you can do a combination. So maybe you're giving up a little bit, the seller's giving up a little bit. So it just really goes back to negotiation. Now, I thought about to share some of the reasons on why an appraisal might come in low. The appraiser doesn't have to do a neighborhood drive-by. So the appraiser, to appraise the value of the property, appraisers really rely heavily on the comps, which are prices paid by similar homes sold recently. You can't use property or multiple offers that are coming in. Those aren't used as actual comps. You can't use ones that are pending. It's ones that have actually closed. But the appraiser could select comps of homes that sold for mysteriously low prices. Now, you may say, why would they pick from those comps? Is because if there's other comparables that are for a lower price, they have to be able to utilize in a mix of what's available out there for them to pull from. Now, appraisers don't normally officially inspect the comps, typically never, but they wouldn't know if there might be mold issues. Maybe there was a nasty divorce that came up, and so they just really sold that property quickly. And some of these things can really throw off the value or the numbers for the home that you're looking at. Another reason the appraiser has to go outside of the neighborhood. So sometimes there isn't enough data on sales and similar homes in your area, forcing the appraiser to use comps from nearby or possibility less desirable communities. Ideally, comps should be similar in size, style, location, and view. So if an appraisal comes in low, you do always have the option to go through the appeal process to come up with other comps. If you see that the appraiser might have missed those comps, just know that there's going to be adjustments on appraisal, and there should be adjustments based on the community is less desirable, but that can affect the value. Another is the importance of view. So does your home have a knockout view, or at least one that's better than the comp that is being used that is across the street but overlooks unsightly power lines? If so, make sure that your appraiser knows it and is looking at all of those different options that may not be necessarily something that he picked up on, he or she. Gorgeous basement. The house has a large, beautiful finished basement with a bedroom and a bathroom, and you have double square footage of your home. Unfortunately, the appraisers are required to use much lower value per square footage for space below ground, so that might be a little bit of a surprise to you. The extras that totally sold you but aren't selling the appraiser. So surprisingly, pools, tennis courts, high-end landscaping, other attractive features, they may not be able to be used in increasing that price of the property. Again, they'll be noted and it'll have some type of adjustment, but it may not be enough adjustment based on what you're willing to pay for the home because of those extra amenities that are there. Next is the condo is the best one in the building. Upgrades and finishes might not always boost the value of the home, but it makes it more appealing to you, which means that you're willing to pay a higher price for that. The appraiser has to pick comps that are within that condo complex. Unless there isn't any that have been sold recently, then and only would they be able to go outside of the complex. The market is too hot to keep up with it. This is another reason we're not dealing with this as much as now. It is still definitely a seller's market. We are not in a balanced market yet, and definitely not a buyer's market. But it's not as crazy as it has been because we have more comps or more properties that are available. So home prices in the area might be increasing so quickly that the comps that sold 6 months ago don't yet reflect the improvement, and prices are soaring and the properties are selling for record price per foot. That can be an issue as well. Next is you intentionally overpaid for the property. There are many reasons why you might personally decide to do this. You just really want the home. It's your dream home. It's in the best location that you found. You've been looking forever. It's the perfect school district. It's got that perfect park that means a lot to you, whatever that reason is. But your reason to be willing to pay over market price has nothing to do with the appraiser's opinion. So you may see a low value there. The appraiser's inexperienced or just has a bad appraisal. Sometimes that happens, and that's, again, why it's so important that if it's a purchase that your real estate agents are both providing comps to the appraiser. And worst case, again, if something happens and they miss them, you can go through the appeal process. Now, down payment percent, I recently heard a local industry leading appraiser speak at an event, and he stated something that was really surprising for me. I've been in the mortgage industry for over a quarter of a century, and I've never heard this or realized it, but it is actually the case because I reached out to some of my appraisers and asked them. And it's just something that, it's one of those behind the scenes things that you don't really know what's affecting the appraiser's opinion or what he or she has to be looking at. If you're coming in with a lower down payment, like a down payment assistance or a 3% or even maybe a 5% down, and you're competing, there's multiple offers that are coming in with 20, 30% down payment. And you happen to escalate that price and you're the highest price out of all of those offers. The appraiser has to consider that when coming up with value. And the reason why, which makes sense when you hear it, is you as a low down payment buyer may have been forced in the offer process to pay a higher price than any of the other offers to get your offer accepted because your offer is not as strong as a high down payment. So in order for you to compete, you're having to pay higher for that price. Well, if there's comps out there, comparable sales that support that price, you're okay. But if there's not, that is going to have a big impact on whether that value is going to come in at value or low. So again, for additional information or if you're having any appraisal issues, feel free to call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. Coming up next on The Money Hour, health and productivity with Celine Analone Brosevich of Dances with Foods, right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.